Hi, I'm Candace. I'm a lover of mountains and meditation and have decided to minimise my life, buy a Sprinter van and convert it into a tiny home on wheels. Having a background in interior design, I'm going to give you my tips, views and experience on design and how to project manage your conversion whilst being a total novice at doing the actual build. Okay, so here is all of the parts of the box for the Espar S2D2 diesel heater laid out. As I'm a super visual person, I like to lay it out so that I understand all the parts and components and know how they link together. So let's start with the actual heater. So this is the Airtronic Espar S2D2, okay. All right, and then mine came with this little base plate, which I'm very appreciative of because I am mounting it 2.5 inches above the van floor and I needed to have that. This is the back. This is the front that will go to this and get cable clamped on. This is what you'll see in the van. Okay, this is the outlet of the heat. These are the pipes, which is the inlet pipe. Okay, slightly bigger interior dimension, interior diameter. This is the exhaust pipe. This is what they call the exhaust silencer, and this is some of the hardware to do with that piping. Okay, and then we go over here, we've got a whole bunch of hardware again, nuts, bolts, clamps, and cable ties, etc. That's the cable ties for this piece. Okay, and then this is the cable, electrical cable harness, right? That will go through to the cable harness, the other side of the cable harness. Now, I made it a template queen, but I'm also the label queen. Now, I did that, I spent hours poring over what was what so I could understand all of these components. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this video for you is the cable harness I got delivered is different to any other than I've seen on YouTube. Don't ask me why. I reached out to them, they didn't get back to me, so I worked it out. Well, let's see if it works, of course, okay? And so thermostat, right? That's actually already mounted, so that'll plug through to the thermostat. This is the fuel line, ignition basically. That's the other side of it, okay? That I'll have to thread through underneath and plug in to my little fuel pump, which I'll show you in a sec. This is a 3 amp fuse, which has to do with the power. This, they said, do not use, so I will not use. This is part of the power and the thermostat circuit. And then this is the power line, okay, which is the thing that looks nothing like anything else on YouTube. These components look very, very different, okay? That will go through to my battery bank, okay? Simple positive and negative line, yep. Importantly in my kit, this page was in the kit and got printed out. It's the only informative piece of information that they included, and that explains this piece here, which I'll go through with you later. Otherwise, I'll put a link below to this technical description manual that I have both digitally and physically printed, okay? And then basically over here we've got the fuel pump, which is another important side of it. So you've kind of got the power, you've got the fuel line, and then you've got your thermostat, which is really the main three components. A couple of things you need to purchase. You need to purchase one of these, which is a 5/16 fuel line connectors. That will plug into your auxiliary line. The Sprinters have an auxiliary line that's got a cap on it, and we're going to uncap it, pop this on, and then we're going to connect it through to a bunch of this wiring. And then we're going to need this vacuum connector, this universal vacuum connector too. There's 2 things you'll have to purchase. There's our little fuel pump, okay? And there's its harness and its hardware. So there we have the layout of everything, but I will walk you through it as I go through each step, because you really just need to take it on step by step. Unlike most installations you'll see out there, because mine is underneath a cabinet and not underneath the passenger seat, I've attached it to this rectangular floor plate because that effectively becomes the floor. And what that means is I've drilled holes through the van floor that are about 2.5 inches underneath here. And what that means is I actually have to install these first. The combustion intake, the exhaust, and then the fuel line. And then actually even the power to the fuel line, okay, which is an extra hole I drilled here. So that's what I'm doing now. So I'm literally just tightening down these cuffs, these ratchets. So the next thing I'm going to install is this fuel line. Okay. Okay, so this thing that most people will be doing underneath their van, I've had to do up here and make sure it's super secure before I feed them through the floor. So this is the combustion fresh air intake, this one. This is the exhaust line, this is the fuel line, and then in my instance, I'm actually going to be feeding the power to the fuel through this little hole through the floor and running it alongside this line here. So that's where I'm going to next. Okay, so all that's been mounted in here, and this is in the bottom of one of my cabinets, right next to my power bank here, okay? So this is where that goes, and so everything has gone down through the hole through the floor, and that's that big rectangular plate that it's sitting on. There's the edge of the wiring harness, and this line is actually the fuel power. It's actually all in one cabinet. I'll show you where it's going to be. So basically, as you come in the door, yep, you're going to see that, right? You come in the door, it's in the base of that cabinet across from there, behind the driver's seat. Yep. I'll show you underneath. Now underneath, you're going to see all this spaghetti of pipes, and this is what you saw me. I drilled this way at the beginning, right? These holes through the bottom, exhaust coming out through here. This is my fuel line, this is my combustion intake, and this is my fuel power, okay? I'm doing it all through these holes here. And then as it happens, my fuel intake is right there behind the driver's seat, so I think this might be a fairly easy installation. All right, next. Okay, so I'm underneath the driver's side of the van here, okay? And I can thank 70 Savage for this, because that is the nipple or the terminal for the auxiliary fuel line, okay? So I'm going to take this off and put that fuel connector on now. Okay, so it's right here, it's right next to this clamshell with all this power coming through it underneath the van. It's right to the left of it as you've got your head underneath. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, that was crazy simple. All right, so this is that component that I had to buy for the Sprinter, right? So now I've got a connector to the auxiliary line to my big fat mama diesel fuel tank without having to drill into it. Thank goodness. So that's done, and now I'm going to start connecting the other pieces. So the next thing I've done here is I've just popped the fuel pump inside its little harness. I actually just used some cooking oil to get it on because it wasn't so easy. And now I'm just finding a good spot for that to mount it. Okay, so next up I'm actually just plumbing, if you like, my exhaust. I actually bought an extra piece. I don't know why they don't provide that long pieces, but anyway, I got an extra piece here. So what I've just set up here is, here's my little muffler or silencer, whatever you want to call it. And I found a spot for that, and I've just bolted its little bracket on. I decided to do that first. It seemed to make sense to me. And now I'm gonna bolt that into position. Okay, so there is my muffler position. It's actually on the inside wall, just under the tank here. Just here, the reason why I'm not gonna wrench this sideways is my heat is actually right above here. Okay, which means that's going at an angle that direction. So I'm actually going to give it some space to curve that way before I put it into the muffler. Can I see that? And pop that in there. All right, that's the next thing I'm going to do. Okay, so I've just installed the exhaust line. It's got to take a tidy little path on the outside edge of the driver's side. There's the muffler slash silencer, and then it just curves back into here where everything else goes. So I hope you can see all that. It's very tidy, very simple. One of the important things about this is that it goes beyond the boundaries of this cavity, because you don't want exhaust welling up inside, you know, under here. You want it to go outside your van. So this is all just a bunch of rubber ties, cable ties I've added. Okay, I found these really handy. Okay, hi there. So what I'm doing today is I'm working on the wiring side of the diesel heater, and that means plugging in the wiring harness, and I have to actually wire a few connections to get that all working, including obviously hooking it up to the power in the battery bank. So that's what I'm up to now. Okay, so I've actually just plugged in the wiring harness to the diesel heater now that she's all solidly in place in her little cabinet pocket. Okay, and as you saw before, I've crazy labeled everything. My label maker, I'm very happy with that. And then what I've got to do here is there's a few pieces that I could cut to length that I then have to wire the connection into. So that's the thermostat piece. This is the fuel line component that attaches to the wiring harness end, and this is the actual wiring to the battery bank, including its fuses, which is very cool. So that's what I'm doing now, is I'm doing the wiring side, and this is the piece of wire that came up from underneath and is already plugged into the fuel pump. So I'm going to cut that down and I'm going to wire that in here. Okay, so this is what I'm up to now. Okay, so this is the pins. Okay, so you have to crimp this line that's going to connect to that, that's going to connect to that for your thermostat. Okay, so you've got to be really precise with this. Obviously you've got to line the colors up properly for here, but you've got to get them into here properly and seated properly. So I'm going to push these actually through this piece. Okay, push them through, well through. So again, lining these up with this, it's going to go, hang on, that's going to go in that way. So you want to make sure as you're doing this, obviously you're pairing up these colors with these colors, and it's, you know, it's a bit of a mind game there. Okay, it's a bit fiddly to get right, and so this is going to go in that way like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is poke it through the hole, and then you can hear it click. Okay, so let's follow that through with the rest of them. Okay, so they've all clicked in. Okay, and you need to just, it's so precise, these tiny little connectors that are then going to have to match on this side. Okay, and then this piece goes right down the middle and keeps them to the edges. So I'm going to pop that in here now. All right, this is important. That orange piece positions them precisely. Okay, and then I should be able to plug that into here and they'll go into the right place. Orange meets orange. Okay, so before I tie anything off, I'm going to actually check the thermostat again. Okay, so they got poked into the back here, and you have to poke them in really deep if you have the same type of connector, and then I've actually connected it to its little joint, and so we have thermostat connection to connection, Jose. And just note, you've got to obviously match up the red, brown and the two blues on that side to the red, the brown and the two blues on this side. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be wiring up is the fuel line here. Okay, this fuel line connector, which is this piece. And I'm just about to cut off a length here so we can tidy it up a little bit and then do the wiring. Okay, so once again I got these crazy little fine connections to do this piece of wiring, and just make sure you put these little lugs on first before you do the crimping of the 22 gauge wire. And then now we need to get that plugged into here. That's what I'm doing now. Okay, so you put them in until you see them snap in place in that horizontal position, because this is going to plug into them horizontally there. And then you've got these little rubber things at the back. You stuff them down the hole, and then I'm just going to clamp this down, and then we're going to be good to go. All done. There we go. Okay, so I have pulled the power cord through the back of my panel here, through into my battery bank here. Okay, and then we're going to put the brown, which is the negative, to my negative bus bar, and then this red one comes through here. Okay, and it's going to connect to that little thing into here, into the back of here actually, and then this will go into the positive bus bar. Okay, and this is actually where the fuse sits. So this is an important going live piece, I guess. All right, that's what I'm doing now. So the next thing I'm doing here is actually just fitting this conduit, I guess, between the nose or the outlet of the heater to my front panel, which is in my toe kick. Now I've already cut this, okay, which is the hole that will fit this. Okay, so that'll go in there. That pivots when it's on the front, and then I just need to secure this to the back. So I'm just basically working out the length. It just goes through a little bit clamped. I'm just not clamping it yet because I want to test everything first. Super simple. It's the heater. It's a very short connection to that. So just wanted to share that this is the extra lengths of this fuel piping that I purchased. It's because this stuff just looks a little too flimsy to me to be underneath the van. I know a million people do it, but I just, instead of connecting that to a whole lot of short versions of this with a whole bunch of clamps, I just got a nice big length of this. Now it's 1/8 of an inch. Okay, fuel pipe, fuel hose, line hose, fuel line hose. You could also use 5/32, that'll work fine, or 1/8 interior diameter. Okay, so I've got some nice lengths of this. Okay, so this is literally the last thing I'm doing, which is connecting. All right, so I'm connecting the power now to the positive bus bar. This is the last thing I need to do before I test the diesel heater. Everything's connected underneath. I'm just going to finger tight this while I check it, but oh my goodness, I'm actually ready to test. All right, so here everything's hooked up. I'm just resting it all here whilst I'm testing, but all of those pieces that needed to get hooked up, the fuel line, the thermostat, the power, of course, is good to go. So this is the final, under carriage bit of the diesel heater installation. We've got the exhaust going out over here, down here, and down out there, right? And then we have here the intake, and then the fuel line and the fuel power all going here to our little fuel pump at the 15 to 30 degree angle, right? That's the intake. And then this is the line that goes all the way and plugs in directly all the way back in there to the fuel tank with the Mercedes piece. So yeah, there we have it. So the moment of truth, I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to turn this on nice and high. Just going to put it on infinite, which means it's going to be on. And then you can hear it start to... And this is diesel heater in here, right? This is the cabinet in which it resides. And this is the outlet. It starts with the fan coming on. You might be able to hear that in the background, the pump kicking on, pumping diesel into the diesel heater. That is hot air. And when it comes on, it's pretty loud, but it actually quietens down once it gets going. I don't know why, but this is its startup process. And really beautiful hot air coming out.